back to the stream, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. Kind of gonna switch it up a little bit tonight. We won't be playing any games. We're actually gonna be talking about going and playing in the largest Lorcana paper event in North America so far. So this past weekend, Dashman and I drove down to Stone Mountain, Georgia to Charlie's Collectible Show and played in an $8,000 Lorcana tournament there. It was super fun. It was only a couple hours from us, outside of where we lived, and it's really fun. So we really had a great time playing it. The venue was really cool. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go over the deck that I played for the event. We're going to talk about just the venue itself, Charlie's Collectible Shop, what that was like, just kind of how the tournament and the event was run as well. And then I'm going to do a brief recap around each round. There are 7 total rounds. I'm just kind of giving the highlights of what I remember. And then we're going to talk about how I would change the deck the next time that I go. And then at the very end, we're going to have Dashman hop on camera here, and we're going to do just a kind of a brief interview with him and talk with him. I'll bring his deck up as well for you guys. And you can take a look at, I'm sending it to myself right now so I don't forget. And we'll have him kind of talk about what he thought about what he played, the matches that he remembers. And yeah, so it's a fun night tonight, guys. Like I said, no gaming tonight, but we are going to talk about a game. So if you guys have seen any of my Pixelborn streams, Lorcana is, a Disney trading card game. So think like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering. They're collectible cards that you buy in like packs, you build your own decks. So the tournament that we went to was called, it's like 60 card constructed. So your deck has to have, or I guess standard constructed, it has to have at least 60 cards in it. It's something that you put together from cards that you have purchased or traded for, or whatever. That's why it's a trading card game. And then you bring and you play that deck. And once you register for a tournament with your deck, that is the deck that you continue to play with through the end of the tournament. So the way that this was set up, it was a hard cap at 256 players. 228 players showed up. So it was really good. It was just a huge turnout, just absolutely unbelievable. One of the biggest in-person tournaments that I've been to, definitely the biggest one I've been to in the last 10 years. I used to play a lot of on the SCG circuit, things like that. I was never any good, but I did go play in a lot of those big tournaments. So this was a really big one. It was, like I said, really fun. Plus it was the biggest prize as well. So not only was it the biggest player turnout, but it was also the largest prize pool so far for any Lorcana tournament ever, if I am saying that correctly. And then it was the largest turnout in North America. I think we beat Miami by like 12 or 14. That's gonna come up later, actually, a little bit. So this is the deck that I took with. It is Sapphire and Steel, so blue and gray. The idea is basically you're kind of a mid-range deck. You want to control the board with your removal, and then you want to kind of play into your endgame threats quickly. So few things right off the bat about this list that you guys are going to notice and say to me is, Drew, where are the beasts and where are the Robin Hoods? And so the answer to that is don't have them. They're super expensive. I really like these 2 colors. I'm kind of all in on these 2 colors. And the beasts, I just don't have baller on a budget. So I felt really comfortable with this list, minus one key thing that I'm going to talk about, because I have been playing it on Pixelborn, which you guys have seen me play on stream before. And it's basically, I just got really, really comfortable with the list. So if you piece of tech, I run the Huntsman in this list. I think he is a fantastic 2-drop. You quest for 2, which is awesome. And then when you exert him to gain the 2 lore, you also get to what we call loot a card. So you draw a card into your hand and then you discard a card, whatever card you want. So really good kind of filtering for the deck, really kind of helps you get through it faster. Sometimes these decks tend to stall out a little bit. I would say these decks, my deck version tends to stall out a little bit without the beasts in there, because he's just so good at drawing, and he's only going up in price, which makes me so sad that I have not been able to get him yet. But soon, one of these days, I'm gonna take one of these down. we're gonna get some beasts. So yeah, so the huntsman kind of tech, he did work all day long. He was either eating a removal spell, or he was getting traded with like a really much larger character punching into him. So he really did well. Kind of where he stumbles a little bit is playing against a deck with like a lot of 1/3s. Like eventually, you do just have to quest with him, and they're gonna have something out that can just trade him and not even trade into him, but just punch into him, take one back, and be fine. Sometimes that can set up kind of a grab your swords play. I did that a couple times. Just trying to kind of bait it out because I didn't want to leave another 1/3 out there, just questing away basically. So does have his weaknesses, right? There's a reason he's like a bulk rare, essentially. He's not great, but I do think there is some play. I do think that probably with a bodyguard, maybe the prince in there, I think he would be pretty solid to kind of help this deck. But the list is already extremely tight. You'll also notice I've got Cloud Kicker in there, the new guy from Into the Inklands. He is a 6/2/5 that quests for 3, and he's got Shift, which doesn't matter in this deck, and then he also has Ward, which means that he has Hexproof if you play Magic. You cannot be targeted, you can only attack into him. So Kit was kind of my Madame Medusa tech, because a lot of Ruby Amethyst decks have switched off of Lady Tremaine into Madame Medusa. If you guys are familiar with the cards, unfortunately, I'm not bringing them all up as we're talking about it, but if you know, you know. So basically, Madame Medusa is you get to destroy something with 3 or less power, and you can see in the deck we unfortunately have every single card except for 2 have 3 or less power. So the whole thing gets eaten alive by Madame Medusa, especially Hades. He basically turned out to be a liability the entire day, unfortunately. I mean, he's still a really good card, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But just, playing 7 after holding him in my hand because he's uninkable for so long, if it didn't feed him to a fishbone, it's like basically he is almost a dead card against Ruby Amethyst, because number one, you are ramping them, which is not good because that helps them a lot. And second of all, he just insta-folds to Madame Medusa. Or, they're controlling you, you've only got one guy, they're going to Lady Tremaine, and you're going to sacrifice him anyway. So, excuse me. Hades kind of induced what we call like a 2-for-1 a lot, where in the sense of my opponent got to eat my Hades with his card, and then I had to spend another card to remove his card that ate my Hades. So, not great. It definitely cost me a lot of tempo, and the game is already pretty fast as it is, so, that kind of hurt. Belle's another one that just really gets eaten alive by Madame Medusa. I almost thought about putting Aurora in there, the one that gives ward to everything, but again, she dies to Madame Medusa. She doesn't have ward herself. She does have 5 health, but with along came Zeus and, some of these other decks that kind of have ways to attack, they're going to exhaust them, tap them down with the Pinocchio, swing in with Maui, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just difficult to kind of like justify playing some of these cards that are maybe a little more niche when basically you're going to play it, they're going to remove it, you're going to have to remove whatever they used to remove it. So there's a reason that Ruby Amethyst is the best deck so far. I think there are a couple decks that it kind of has a tough matchup against, maybe 1 or 2 that it kind of has an auto loss against, but it's just very consistent. I was playing one of my opponents, and it was Ruby Amethyst again, and I was like, man, do you ever just like play this deck in your sleep? I was like, you ever get to take a nap when you play this deck? Because I'm sure you've played it a million times, and it's probably the same game every single time. That would just be so boring to me, and that's probably why I'll never win one, because, man, I gotta be engaged. I love a deck like this. I think the Emerald Steel deck is really cool because it's got so many different choices of play lines. this one does as well. I'm kind of locked out of a few things because I don't have the Robin Hoods, I don't have the Beasts, but I think there is some tech that we're going to talk about that kind of made a big splash this weekend. If you guys already know, Lucky Dime has tripled in price since this past weekend, so it is just a fantastic card for I think this deck. So I'm going to try and get my hands on a couple. Hopefully it'll come back down, settle at a reasonable price. I think around between $8 to $10 is fine. It is a secret rare. You're only going to play 2 of them in the deck, I think, at max. Eventually we'll get those in there too. But for now, this was the list I registered. I made the critical mistake of tinkering with my list the night before a tournament, which I always do to myself, and just shoot myself right in the foot. McDuckman, I didn't want to that deck. That card just basically didn't work the entire weekend. It's Ruby Amethyst. It's almost they have to have the Maui fish hook. If they do, it feels bad, but not necessarily. They probably either have to pay 8 to get it out, or maybe they're able to push it out, makes them play the Maui instead of removing something of yours, besides like a character creature. So, very good card, I would say. Definitely for a common, very good. So I took out the Mickey Mouses, which was a mistake because this deck, it is really important that you play your 5-drops on turn 4. Whether it's a Cogsworth, whether it's you have to hardcast a whole new world, whether it's a Popsicle Hiram, whatever it is, grab your swords to clear the aggro, let it go if they've cheated out a big shift target, like a Queen or a Robin Hood. If they've cheated out of Mufasa somehow or something, it's really important that you play your cards on time in this deck. And cutting the Mickeys was just a terrible idea. I thought the Fishbones would get me there. It just wasn't enough to make it worth it. Even with the Belle, by the time I usually got around to playing her, she either just immediately died of removal, or I just didn't really have anything else in my hand that I could put down because she doesn't allow you to get around the uninkable rules like Fishbone does. So, I was holding a Gaston or a Hades or a Grab in my hand, and it was just bleeding there, and I could do nothing about it. So, bad move, but I did it. we did it anyway. We're running it. This is what we're comfortable with. Let's go. And by that I mean, why did I cut the Mickeys if I was comfortable with them? I put in the Long Game Zeus. I think that was the right move. And I think I went up on my Let It Go, which was fine. I added more removal basically and took out consistency, which is not great. I'm not really adding anything to the board with either of those 2 cards. They're both pretty high cost. They are both songs, but Hiram can only sing a Long Game Zeus. That's the only song in the deck he can sing. And then my Cogsworth, Gaston, Kit, Tinkerbell, or Hades have to stay alive, which they never do, to actually be able to use it. So we'll talk about the numbers later, but yeah, so I added more removal, cut the Mickeys. It was a bad look. Dashman and I got up pretty early in the morning. We hit the road about 6:30. That would give us plenty of time to get to the venue. There were a couple cards that we were going to get for Dash's deck once we arrived there that we knew we needed to really just push his kind of into a consistent list. I think that was really powerful. So we drove a couple hours there. It was pretty good. Listened to an audiobook. It was a lot of fun. No, we did that on the way home. I think he watched a movie in the back seat, and I just listened to music. So it was a good, nice ride. Early in the morning. I used to work at Starbucks, so I'm used to the early mornings. And I was really excited to get up on a Saturday. Dashman said, "Let's go." We did go, and actually go and do this. Normally I like sleeping in because I get up Monday through Friday early, and but I was excited to get this going, and so we got to Charlie's Collectible Show, and so this is where I'll kind of brag on them or kind of pump them up a little bit. Really great venue, guys. Super spacious, roomy. It was I think it used to be a Big Lots, so it's a pretty good sized footprint in terms of square footage, and they have it's almost like a vendor hall, kind of like flea market type place. Where people come and they set up their booths that like stay there. They've got like wares like that they like consistently sell or whatever. So like there were several trading card ones. There was action figure place. There was like a movie prop place. There was a T-shirt place. There was a place that sold like coasters and earrings. Just all sorts of really cool stuff, D&D stuff, just a big nerd heaven, basically. So really cool. Plenty of space for the tournaments. We even had tables to spare and really well set up. Um, I will say too that the event was extremely well run. One of the best run tournaments that I've been to. The from I think I was talking about maybe with my round 6 or 7 opponent. From when they started picking up the deck list at the registration, um, everything was efficient. It ran very smoothly. They had a system. They knew what they were doing. They executed. It was really good. The only kind of drawback I'd say is because of where my name was, I was pretty far from the speaker, so it was a little bit hard to hear. Part of it is like a Big Lots with the really high ceilings, and then part of it was like must have been their offices that they just like took the walls out for, basically. So I had a much lower ceiling, and that really killed the sound from the PA. But that is an absolute nitpick. It was awesome. It was really good. Very well set up, like I said. Very well run. Very well executed. 228 players is no small feat, guys. I mean, that is a lot of logistics to get right and do a good job doing it. So shout out to those guys there. Blaylock was the head judge. Did a great job, I thought. I tried to thank each of the judges for coming out and judging the event, taking time out of their weekend to do that, especially because I know that all those guys play Lorcana and love playing Lorcana. So I know it was a big deal, kind of hard for them to miss being able to participate in that. I think in some ways, probably, I'm sure they were compensated, but it was just really cool. So shout out to those guys again. Shout out to Charlie's Collectibles. If you guys are ever in the Stone Mountain area in Georgia, definitely check them out. It is worth a stop, even if you just spend 15 minutes. Well, you say you'll spend 15 minutes, you're going to be there for a long time. They also brought in 2 of the artists for Lorcana. One of them did like Ransack and several other cards. That's the only one I could think of because the only one I had. And then the other one that Dash and I got autographed for was he got Be Prepared, and I got Strength of a Raging Fire to kind of commemorate our first tournament together. So super cool. I mean, getting those 2 there, that's pretty awesome to have those guys show up and participate. So, definitely worth it. We got a free playmat that's actually pretty good quality. It's very durable. It's much thicker than a regular playmat that you kind of find on the shelf. It's nice. Doesn't look like it'll fray easily. And then we got a deck box. So, just for showing up, hey, you get free swag. Love that. And the opportunity to kind of get a cool souvenir. Kind of not once in a lifetime probably, but, just once in a one of a kind thing for you, is what I'm trying to say. Excuse me. Get some water. So CCS, Charlie Collectible, check them out. They're on Facebook. They're running events all the time up there. If you guys are interested in playing and you are in that area, definitely check them out. Could not recommend them more. So, real quick, just going through a quick kind of recap of my rounds. So you guys are going to notice a theme, and you can put in the comments or in the chat what you think that theme is going to be, because I bet you can already guess it. So, round 1, I played against Tiny and Strong was the name on the slip. Bryce is his actual name. We actually, he's from Cleveland. We met before we kind of started playing. He was with our group. We kind of were close by. So it was just, it was like, oh man. So it was both of our first big tournament. Definitely had some nerves, I think, in the game, but by the 3rd game, we both really kind of settled into a good rhythm, a good routine. Just a really great guy, really fun opponent to play against. I'm really extroverted, if you can't tell. I love talking with my opponents, getting to know them, just kind of hearing their story, what they like about Lorcana, how they play, just that kind of thing. I love making connections like that. I really enjoy getting to know new people. So game 1, I won. It was really close, 17-16. Both of our decks were kind of doing the things. He was on Ruby Amethyst. Yep. So game 2, he absolutely gave me the business, beat me 20-5. Again, just I think a repeated theme through these days was just the consistency and then getting 2-for-1. Basically, it was very difficult to kind of come out of that hole. Game two was sorry, game three rather was a little bit closer. He eventually just overwhelmed the board, and I couldn't catch back up. I didn't have enough to kind of remove his stuff, which was and I just could not get it down fast enough. I didn't have really any terrible mulligans, right? Where I just had a really bad starting hand. It seemed like every time I drew a whole new world, I drew another one like 2 turns later if I wasn't playing it right then. So that was unfortunate. I had to hardcast a whole new world several times. That's always feels bad because then they get a full turn of the new grip, basically. So I really tried to save my whole new worlds and use them as like a secondary removal spell, so I would let them use their friends on the other side, their Kuzcos, their hares, or their Merlin rabbits rather, and draw their cards, use their bounces to kind of sculpt their hand how they wanted to. Hope to God they had already drawn and be prepared, and then that would be pitched to the bin. So I really tried to use it as like I said, kind of another tier of removal. But again, they get to draw 7 new cards. So, sometimes I was pitching 5 cards, 5 cards that they had really worked hard to get. Sometimes I was only pitching 3 cards. Sometimes, it was 2 cards by the time I could finally play it. So that part was tough. So I'm 0-1. Going into round 2, I play against Otto Reedmore. He's from a little town between Nashville and Knoxville. Playing also Ruby Amethyst. I will say my round 1 opponent, Bryce, his was a pretty standard Ruby Amethyst list. Otto was the first time I had seen the whale tech, I guess, which is a thing. Pretty cool, the Maui whale. He's like 7 for an 8/8, I think. You can't ready. He doesn't ready at the start of your turn. You got to pay to ready him. And then if you do, he can't quest. I think he has 1 more. But he's still an 8/8, so he punches for a million. So game 1, I won pretty handily. He got stuck on a lot of uninkables, I think, and so he kind of just sputtered out. I don't think he ever got more than 4 ink down, which is really unfortunate. I mean, he just couldn't really get it going. So it was, I hate to win like that because it just feels bad, man. We're here to play, we're not here to just watch our opponent not be able to draw or play. I can sit in my bed and play solitaire if I want to. I came to play. So that always also kind of puts a damper on things going into round 2, typically, if it's kind of a blowout, because, it feels bad to lose. It feels bad to not be able to play the game that you paid your entry fee and drove several hours to come and play. I've had all my YouTube notifications. I'm back, though. Hey, welcome back. Thank you. So, yeah. You know what? Turn off your notifications. That's good. Sometimes it's nice to kind of disconnect, for sure. So round 2, game 2 of round 2, he beat me 20-9, and then game 3, we went to turns, that's the only time I went to turns. It was also his first tournament, he said, so definitely understand I play at typically a much faster pace than I think some people, just because I've played the deck so many times, and I've played against usually the deck I'm sitting down against so many times. I understand kind of how the match needs to go, what needs to flow, and if it's not happening, how it's going to be. So I beat him on game 3, so I'm 1-1 going into round 3. I played against LSP Terrace. LSP, I think, is his shop or his team. I don't know. He was sponsored. They had jerseys. He came up from Orlando, I think, maybe outside Orlando. So drove up to play. Really fun. That's why I say the Miami, because I was like, I think this is the biggest tournament. He's like, no, I think Miami had it. And I was like, okay, sure, Florida guy. So, but he excellent player, really tight, Ruby Amethyst again. So now this is the 3rd game in a row I've played against Ruby Amethyst. Had what he needed when he needed it, basically. I'm not going to give you the bad beats. I lost both games by, 15 lore, basically. So absolutely curb stomped. So round 2, going into unfortunately, round 4, I played against one of our locals, Daniel. Shout out him. He works at the shop that we all play League at. Also, Calvin was there, and Caleb also came from the shop. And then, like I said, I met Bryce there too. And that was all that was there Saturday. What's your deck? I've got it on the screen right there. I brought Sapphire Steel to a spice and a mistake. I basically cut the Mickeys for some reason. I've had the Huntsman in there forever. I think he's a great card, but I put in more removal, cut a lot of consistency out of it, and I don't have the Beasts, and I don't have the Robin Hood, so baller on a budget. Um, Round 4, I played against Daniel, like I said. Um, Game 1, he couldn't really get anything online, so he kind of petered out. I won 20-10. Game 2, both of our decks really kind of started going off, and then he was playing Amber Steel, so finally a deck that wasn't Ruby Amethyst, which actually also went on to win the tournament. Not Daniel, but a Amber Steel list won the whole tournament. Really, he just fired off, man, and he was just doing everything he needed to do. This was the one game that I remember where I had really bad draws. I don't think I ever saw a Fishbone the whole game, which the Fishbone Quill being my only piece of ramp after I cut the Mickeys really hurt, again, the consistency of the deck, and also powering the bells at the end of the game. And then game 3 was really close. If I didn't win on the turn I won, he would have won on the next turn. So really close game there. So that puts me at 2-2. Going into round 5, I played against Matt Logan, who was from North Carolina. He was on, you guessed it, Ruby Amethyst. So it is a good deck. Thanks, man. It is, and I've said this, I tell this to everyone I play against, like, if you know your deck and you know your matchups and you know what your deck needs to get to, you can win. You got a shot at winning most of your games, or a good amount of your games, more than half your games, I would say. Which is what you need to determine more than half your games. So, I think that there is this big thing around net decking. I think some cards are just really good. Like I wish I had Beast. I mean, draw power cannot overstate how important it is to draw cards in a card game. There's only 60. You want to run as many multiples as you can for consistency, so you want to see more of those cards. I played against Matt. Game 1, very close. He beat me 20-15, but I played him to the very end. He was sweating, basically. And then Game 2... he beat me 20-15. Game 2... he just ran away with it, basically. It felt like every time I played, so I played Kit, he had Lady Tremaine. I played Hades, he had Madame Medusa. It was just kind of one of those games where every time I played something, he just had the answer, unfortunately. He had the Teeth and Ambitions, he had the Be Prepared, just no standard Ruby Amethyst list. So he beat me 2-0. Round 6, I played against Steph, who was, she's a teacher from Georgia, and she was on Amber Ruby Mufasa. So she was playing the Mother Gothel, the Rapunzels, the Mufasa, the Pongos, Lilos, just kind of like a really pretty low to the ground aggro-y type deck. With the Mufasas, she was hopefully, trying to high roll the guys down. Had Prince Eric in there, which is a new card from Into the Inklands. He's a 4-cost uninkable 2/2. When he's banished, you get to banish a chosen character. So he's a really good way to remove opponents' characters, like if they grab your swords, or trade into him, because he also quests for 2, so you kind of have to get him off the board. He was so she had a lot of kind of that in there. The Tremaines, the Medusas. Well, I don't know if she actually had those in there, because I don't think she got that far up there. Maybe she did. She might have had them in there. I don't remember. Round 6, everyone was pretty tired at that point. We're kind of going on like 7 hours of Lorcana at this point. So we played game 1. She absolutely crushed me. She had the Mother Gothel into Rapunzel, drawn 3 cards off that, into Mufasa, into Mother Gothel, into another Rapunzel. I mean, she just beat me. Game 2, very close. I beat her 20-13. Again, one of those games where if I didn't win on the turn that I won, she would have won the next turn probably. And then the last game again, 2013, also a very close game. Super fun. I really like the Amber Ruby deck. She also had the stitches in there, those rush stitches that come out and punch, the unequal ones. And I think that would be my one piece of advice I would have given to her if she'd asked. I don't ever give unsolicited advice to my opponents, but I think she had a lot of uninkables in there. So I think that is right. I think she did have the Tremaines. I think she did have the Medusas. She had the Prince Erics. She had the Simba in there. That's the one that's the 2-cost uninkable for 3 lore for 1/1. Just a lot of cards that I think could not come out or go down as ink, rather. Just kind of really clunky in that way. So almost relying on the 4 Mufasas or the Mother Gothel into Rapunzel. But, as soon as I saw Mother Gothel come down, I'm either going to try and add damage to that or, remove it, basically, get rid of it, essentially. All I care is about getting that card off the board, so hopefully she cannot draw, off of that with the Rapunzel. And I don't want to grab your swords because then she'll just pick somewhere else. Going to. Round 7, I played against Ruby Amethyst again. Again, pretty standard list. North Carolina player again. Pretty quiet player, which is fine. Did nothing outside of talking about game state or interactions, and even then, that was pretty limited. Just a lot of kind of doing things before I would do them sometimes. Which, that was the play I was going to make. But, sometimes players are super good and they know, what you need to do. Because, a lot of lists are similar in terms of a reason. So, that was my round 7. So I ended the day 3 and 4 if you've been keeping up. I beat 1 Ruby Amethyst deck. I beat the other 2 non-Ruby Amethyst decks. So again, I felt good about the list. I wish I hadn't cut the Mickeys in hindsight. Of course, it's 2020. But I might have made, that was probably a pretty bad mistake, to be honest. Probably would have cut the kits out, maybe one let it go. But again, Hades, just a liability, man, to Madame Medusa. Cogsworth, again, like Lady Tremaine. He can't get Medusa, but, he can't have her quest either, so just tough, you know what I mean? Just an uphill battle, especially against Ruby Amethyst with the consistency that they have in that deck. But I had a great time, going 3 and 4 at my first tournament in over a decade for a card game that I just started playing a few months ago. I feel really good about. I really, like I said, it was a well-run tournament, so there wasn't ever any point where we had, just a ton of downtime, nothing to do. If we did have any downtime, we were either running out and get something to eat from the car, or we were walking around and looking at all the cool stuff that they had in the shop. So, shout out again to all the people from Epicos that made it. Dash and I went home that evening. We had to be back the next day for something on Sunday back home. So we left. The next day there was a 1K tournament that I think they eventually bumped up to a 2K or a 2.5K tournament. So that was pretty cool. That had like 156 players in it, I think, or something crazy like that. So just, a weekend of Lorcana, man. And then, like I said, there's tons of recap videos about the meta decks, the top 8, top 16. You guys go enjoy those. I've watched all of them myself. I recommend Lorcana'S or Quantum Mercury or Steadfast. All of them are great Lorcana content creators. Quantum might have other stuff other than Lorcana, but he's been heavy Lorcana lately. So all pretty good that I watch myself. I can definitely recommend. Check them out and look at them. And Lorcana'S, I think, has always been family friendly, and I want to say the same for Steadfast. Sometimes when Quantum is live streaming, his opponents, obviously, he doesn't ever curse, I don't think, but his opponents sometimes will, so just keep that in mind if you're watching with kids or family. So yeah, definitely a ton of fun. No regrets during the day while I was playing. Definitely by the end, I kind of was like, I see why I should have done that. So here's how I would make my changes to the list if I were to go back and play with the exact same cards that I already have, not purchasing any new cards, or actually, take that back. I think about one more Along Came Zeus, and kind of took this list instead. So no Beaststone, no Robin Hood, obviously, and no Lucky Dimes yet because, like I said, they tripled in price. So I haven't got them yet, but I think Lucky Dime with Belle is where I want to take the deck. So probably eventually I'll get one more Belle. She's kind of started to come down, but I can see her going back up with Lucky Dime synergy. I think she's a really good card for ramping as well, if you've got some of those less unequal cards. So swapping over to, this is the new list that I would run. So adding in the 1-drop Captain Hook Challenger Duelist. One of my big problems was opponent locations. I've only got 2 Rise of the Titans in there to kind of hard remove those locations. they didn't. I mean, they showed up. I used them, both of them. Usually every game, I used both my Rise of the Titans. But it was tough without having anything that could really attack into them that I wasn't trying to quest with to win the game. So I would add the Captain Hook Duelist. He also has the advantage of helping the Mr. Smee not take damage. Cut 1, Develop Your Brain. Honestly, drawn at late game, I'd rather draw Gaston. There were times where I would draw 2 in my opening hand, and like 1 cantrip is fine on turn 1, but I'm not really trying to play another one on turn 2. Probably I'm trying to kind of get the deck going. You'll see I did cut the Huntsman from the deck. It breaks my heart to do so, but I'm not sure we're there with him yet. And I could play with this deck also a little more. I've seen the smashes come down to 2. I've seen the grab your swords come down to 2. I've seen the let it go come down to 1. So possibility there. We'll see. First thing to go would probably be the smashes, because I would have to get to my other removal spells if I was going to put them back in. Because the Big Cindy, I really want those songs out there. So moving down the line, we cut the Huntsman, like I said. Cutting 1 Fishbone Quill, I really only ever used 1 throughout the day. You don't really want 2 out there, otherwise you kind of start having less card advantage in your hand. And Ruby Amethyst, you fall behind on card advantage because you're already going to fall behind, and if you are actively sabotaging your hand, you've got to keep those late game threats in your hand. This whole deck really comes down to how you ink with Fishbone Quill. Obviously, Mickey Mouse, I put him back in. You don't get to pick. You don't even get to see what you lost. You're gonna feel it probably at some point. Hopefully you hit one of your four elves with him. That's hopefully mathematically what you would hit. But, 9 times out of 10, I've hit one of my 2 ups for sure. But, so how you ink with Fishbone Quill, I think, is really what makes or breaks the deck. Obviously, a Hades, inking him on turn 3 with the Fishbone when I had 3 in there, felt fine. Now, man, do I need to think about it a little more. Hades is a really great answer to a lot of those cards that say when banished. Mufasa immediately comes to mind. Even a Prince Eric, or something like that, when banished, this happens. Robin Hood, if he's challenged and banished, there's several he's a clean answer to a lot of cards. And so, much as it breaks my heart to cut him down, I think he's just too much of a liability right now, getting 2 for 1 in the meta. So like I said, cutting the Fishbone down to 3, so you still see him every game, but you're not drawing multiples and missing out on maybe one of these other cards that are going to do a little bit more impact further down the line. Also, drawing a Fishbone on like turn 7 is like, what am I doing? I've already got 10 ink out there, probably don't need another Fishbone. Okay, it hits the well, but why would I not play like, Cinderella? Added in the Mickeys, like I said, kind of just add that consistency back into the deck. He's a 1/3 that quests for 1 at the very least. He's also can sometimes be a Lady Tremaine answer if they play 1. You can suck him up, or banish him, rather than not pick him up, but banish him instead of like your Belle or your Hiram or something. Adding in another Long Came Zeus because it's a song and Hiram can sing it, and it does 5 damage and it hits locations, which more location removal. We'll see how the meta shakes out. I think almost every deck was playing locations except for, but I think everything else was running Lisa Queen's Castle or Agrabah or McDuck Manor. I saw a couple Pride Lands floating around. There's probably a Bayou there. I didn't see it, but I'm sure someone tried that. Moving down the line, no changes really in the rest of that second row there. Bringing the Let It Goes down to 2. There's several times where it was just an ink for me, which is fine, but I didn't want to cut too many of them because it is still a song. Then I added in 2 of the big Cinderellas. She, number 1, quest for 3. She's got resist 2, so I feel a little bit better questing with her into decks that want to challenge into me with like Rafiki and things like that. And whenever a song is played, she gets to attack a ready character, so it kind of helps me take out some of those characters that hang around and I'm unable to deal with. And then cutting one of the Hades, because like I said, he gets 2 for 1, too much. Going forward, where are we going to take the deck? Like I said, I'd like to go up on another Belle, probably 2 Lucky Dimes, so we would probably drop one of the smashes. Maybe all 3 of the smashes, honestly, might be what we do with that, and kind of go all in on the end game, ramping, or, maybe cutting like a Let It Go, or maybe one of the Grab Your Swords, one of the smashes, one of the Let It Goes, that was kind of another issue too. Was eventually I did stall out without the beast to draw or the Robin Hoods helping me draw. I ran out. Obviously, a whole new world is great, but it does also have its drawbacks. Like I said, hard casting it feels bad, man. Plus the tinks already kind of helped me with the aggro if I'm ramping effectively, which I would have if I had the Mickey Mouse. So yeah, so that is the deck that I played. So now we're gonna have Dashman come on up here and hop on camera real quick, and I'm gonna pull up his deck for you guys while he is making his way from the house. Oh, definitely doesn't say royalty. I didn't mean to do that. My bad, guys. Drop the tunes. Okay. All right. Let me get this pulled up real quick. There's my Facebook page. If you guys aren't following, please follow me on Facebook at Dubious Deus. Okay, so we'll get that pulled up there. And whoops, just dox myself on stream. Oh my goodness, no, dude. What is happening here? What is happening here? This is not what I'm trying to do. I don't want that. I do not want that, Sam. I am. I do not want that. Green eggs and ham. This is bad. All right. I hear him opening the door. Come on in, my guy. Okay. Let's get this pulled up here. All right. So hopefully, you guys will be able to hear him and the camera will be in a good spot. Please welcome to the stream for the first time. Face reveal, Dashman. It's a little low. I'm going to point the camera a little bit down, a little more here. Whoop. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, this isn't about me. This is about you. So we got your deck up here on the screen. Camera's right there. Mic's right there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you played, what you thought of your first kind of major tournament, and any changes that you would have made, and any matches that kind of stand out to you or remember. You can go through card by card if you want to. You can talk about character packages, kind of however you want to do it. So I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So what I'd say first is I like my deck. I like it. The one thing I have questionable about though
Mm-hmm.
is the what was the word? I think I would cut all of my one drops for a Simba.
Oh, okay. So you're adding in the red Simba, the 1/1. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Like maybe even putting the Enchantress because she's already a 2-cost 1/1, just like
Yeah.
the Simba is. She does kind of have that drawback of attacking in, but questing for 3, you only got to do that 7 times, you win the game. So, I definitely see what you're saying there. What do you think of the Cursed Merfolk? That's a new card from Into the Inklands. We didn't really have a lot of experience playing with it before because we only had one. So you kind of went into it. We added 3 of those to your deck and one of the Madame Medusas. What do you think of Cursed Merfolk? Did it do some work for you that
Yeah.
weekend? Okay.
It saved me a lot of times when I drawed it, and
Mm-hmm.
other times it decided to leave me on the side of the road.
Oh, really? Okay, they just kind of they just left it there, or what do you mean?
I mean, they'd come and help me, and then
Hmm.
they get banished before they could quest.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of people kind of targeted them with removal. I
But
saw the same thing with my Huntsman too. So yeah,
very solid card, though.
yeah, definitely. What about Has Set My Heart, Banish an Item? What did you think of that card?
Very good. It gets rid of their popsicles,
Yeah,
gets rid of all their what's the word for it? Ah, gets rid of all their
yeah.
items.
Fishbone Quill, right? Maui's Fish Hook. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Strike a Good Match. Another new one that we added in. What do you think of that card?
Saved my skin a ton of times.
Did it? Okay, nice. So that one you draw 2, then you discard a card out of your hand. So kind of using it to like sculpt your hand, get those uninkables out that maybe you can't play. And we also added in the new Ursula. So she doesn't fit with the theme of the deck in the sense of she has like a really big drawback if you attack her, or she quests for a high amount of lore, so she's like overstated. But she does pull a song from the opponent's hand. So tell me a little bit about your strategy around playing Ursula and just if you have any big moments in the game where she kind of really came in clutch for you.
Ursula, good, very solid card.
Yeah.
When I used her, to be honest, I use her as often as I can.
Okay.
I don't always use her at the beginning, but she's great for Ruby Amethyst.
Hmm.
It gets out their friends on the other side,
That's true.
the
Yeah.
be eerily be prepareds they have.
Okay. Very true. Yeah. I didn't even think about friends, but yeah, that would be a really powerful card to kind of take from them. That's really good. Yeah. Nice.
It saved my skin in game 4, I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
It saved a game I played her, and it was Bye Bye Be Prepared, and I quested out.
Yeah, and one. Nice. So she saved you basically to keep your board alive. Nice, very good. Yeah, so it kind of gives you a little more confidence, maybe overextending your board or kind of playing more cards than maybe you would normally if you know, hey, I'm gonna set the Ursula down on the turn before I win. So if they try and be prepared, they can't,
Yeah,
unless they pull it off the top deck. Agrabah, another new card that we added to the deck. Not right beforehand, but we have recently added it in. It's from the new set as well. Obviously, it's a location. 3 cost, inkable, 5 toughness, quest for 2. What was that like for you this weekend?
very good, very solid.
Yeah.
It very nice card. The Agrabah, very nice. I
Yeah.
always put I used it as a decoy most like I used it as a decoy.
Mm.
I'd play the Agrabah and then I'd throw out a ton of enchantresses so they'd go for the Agrabah.
Oh, okay,
It's a very
smart.
nice card
Yeah.
that everyone hates it. They always try to kill it for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if they don't, it's just 2 lore per turn. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, it's half the game. You know what I mean? So yeah. Obviously, Minnie Mouse, Maui's fish hook, pretty standard. Donald Duck. I wouldn't say standard, but we do see him playing overstated. Cusco. How was Cusco for you this weekend? I think he's kind of coming back in a little bit.
Cusco? Didn't really find much of an answer to him. It was Cusco and game over.
Gotcha. Okay, nice. Maui, which if you guys haven't seen that, Maui's gone up to $15 now per card. Obviously, very good with the fish hook for those location removals. Were you able to combo off with that a
Oh,
lot?
McDuck Manor,
Yeah.
the Queen's Palace.
Hmm.
It gets rid of so many things that Quest for Two like Agrabah with so much more health.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Pretty standard, Lady Tremaine. We had 3. We swapped one out for the Madame Medusa. Did you see it enough to make it consistent, or really get enough experience playing it? Do you think the
Yep.
Madame Medusa?
Yeah, the Mad Medusa, it's such a solid card.
Hmm.
It gets rid of so many good cards. As you can see on my cards up here, that would get rid of something like Curse Merfolk,
Hmm.
Enchantress.
Cheshire Cat.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
it would get,
Donald. Yeah.
it really takes out actually most of my deck.
Yeah, that's true. If you would do it again, would you do that same split? 2 Lady Tremaine, 1 Madame Medusa? Would you go 2 Medusas, 1 Tremaine? Would you go no Tremaines? Would you go no Medusas?
Think if I were to cut something, I
Hmm.
might cut it down to no Tremaines for a Medusa,
So like 2 Medusas, no Tremaines?
but I might change that for the beefier decks though,
Yeah.
that have all those ward, because
Mm,
it's nice to make them kill their own people.
that's true. Yeah, absolutely. So any particular matches or opponents that you remember playing against or had a story about or anything?
I have remember the first person
Hmm.
I fought against. Very funny story actually. I played against him, and right off the start of the tournament, I draw an extra card and got called on by the judge.
First judge call in your first game on the first turn.
Yep.
That's good to get it out of the way. It's good to get it out of the way.
Besides that, pretty solid.
Yeah,
Beat him. It's very close most of the time,
yeah.
though.
Hmm.
It's very legitimate.
Hmm.
Um, pretty sure it was Sapphire Steel deck.
Okay, nice. Round 2, you went down to play somebody who actually got a pretty high placing, I think, if we remember.
Yeah, Jingle
Y-
was
Yeah.
her name.
Hmm.
Very good opponent.
Or
She
Candy Cane.
Candy Cane,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
it. Very good opponent. She smoked me.
yeah. She was playing Amethyst, Amber,
Yeah,
aggro, right?
she had
Yeah,
this weird thing with the pig from Robin Hood,
yeah.
where you quest for like 5 when you have other people out
Oh,
with
yeah. The Piglet, the pirate captain.
I was just like, well, good game.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Yeah,
Then I tried mowing it all out, just drawing all the mounds,
yeah.
and then she quested out.
Gotcha. All right. Any other matches you remember in particular?
No, not really. Most
Yeah.
of them I lost.
Yeah, so Ruby Amethyst, this is basically this deck is an auto win against Ruby Amethyst. I think both your Ruby Amethyst games you were done within 20 minutes. Had beat 2-0, 2-0 to your opponents basically. And of course I played against all Ruby Amethyst, and it's probably the hardest matchup for me. So sad that we did that. I'm glad we didn't have to play each other in the Swiss rounds though. That was really nice, kind of being able to dodge each other in the main part of the tournament. What'd you think of the store that we were in?
I have never met a store that I thought could be heaven before. That place just felt like every franchise I love, know by heart,
Yeah.
just exploded in everywhere in the room.
Nice, man.
I would go down there for the life of me every day.
Nice, nice. Okay, well, they got another tournament coming up. It's going to be 10K this time. Yeah, and they just announced today. We were talking about the Lorcana Championship circuit that they just announced, which is going to be pretty cool. Lots of cool promos they're giving away for that. So yeah, you think? Which is going to be pretty cool. Lots of cool promos they're giving away for that. Hey, I think we are back now,
Yay!
guys. All right, let me get this pulled back up here. Um, So yeah, shop was cool. You really liked it. Do you think Lorcana is a game that you think you will like to play kind of going forward?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe I can earn money for college.
No, I'm using your college to pay for beasts. Anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed that kind of deck breakdown, tournament review. We'll definitely do them in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed meeting Dashman for the first time face to face. You guys have heard his voice a lot on stream,
Oh yeah,
but
keep saying let's go all the time.
that's right. So yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you kind of bearing with us. I know we were about to end anyway, so it was kind of a weird thing to have happen right there. But we lost YouTube for a second. So anyway, thank you for dropping by, FP. Thank you again for stopping by. Thanks for getting those YouTube notifications turned back on. We appreciate you. Welcome back, all of you guys watching in the future. Please like, please subscribe, comment down below what deck you like in Lorcana. Comment if you don't know what Lorcana is. Comment if you like Disney. Comment if you hate Disney. Just comment. It helps me out. So thank you guys all very much. Follow me on Facebook. Check me out. I got shorts on YouTube. I got a bunch of other games that I've played, a bunch of other series, several of them with this guy next to me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to playing more Lorcana, play more Pixelborn, and really just kind of getting to know the community of the people that play the game. Anything before we go?
Yes. Subscribe, like, and watch his videos.
Yeah, thank you very much. Until the next time, guys, y'all be easy.